welcome. My name is Tom Boudreau. I'm from the Bureau of Special Education, the State Department of Education. I'm the IDEA Fiscal Manager. I'd like to start with some thank yous. I'd like to thank SERC, the State Education Resource Center, in relationship to getting this organized for us. As you see, we do have some videotaping today. We're going to be archiving this and posting it so that later on, if you or a colleague needs support, we'll be able to have that available for future references. So I'd like to thank certainly their resources. I'd like to thank Steve Proffitt and Sean Kavanaugh in particular. Sean has been a great resource and is still going to be a resource for you around maintenance of effort and as well around this application process. So if you're bogged down and having trouble, certainly Sean is a resource, even to the point that if we need to get him out to district, he will do so. So that's a real good help. I'd like to also thank my colleagues at the State Department of Education, in particular the Turnaround Office, Jen Webb in particular, and her supervisor, Desi Nesmith, and as well my colleagues at the Bureau of Special Education, Andrea Bunnell, if you'd stand up. Andrea is the 619 coordinator. If you have elements around 3 to 5-year-olds, she'd be the person to be communicating with. That's the 619 grant. And I'd like to thank my supervisor, Brian Klimkowitz, the chief of the Bureau of Special Ed. He's been a significant support. And I'd like to thank you all. I know it's a busy time of the year, and that for you taking out of your time to come here. I recognize, probably have spoken to most of you, but recognizing your faces, putting that name to a face, so if we pass, reintroduce yourself for me so I can say hello. And speaking of introductions, I'm really very pleased to be up here with my colleagues from HMB, I'm sorry, John Mamula, Vice President of the Software Productions, and Millie Crawford, Senior Consultant, and she's the support calls. When you're calling there, she's going to probably be the one answering your supports through HMB. Part of what we want today is a real conversation about the IDEA application process. So if you have a question and it lends itself to it, raise your hand and we'll try to get to you. If it comes to you and the timing's not right, there are some index cards on the tables. Write your question onto that and forward it up to us, because from your questions and from those index cards, we're going to develop a frequently asked question form by which that we would have as a resource as well and be able to turn that around and get to us as soon as possible. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go with someone. And I'm really pleased in relationship to be able to go on this journey with my colleagues in relationship to the IDEA grant application, and that we're going to be able to do great things for students with disabilities. So no further ado, Millie.
Good morning. My name is Millie Crawford, as he said, and a little bit about me. I've been in your shoes. I was a consultant and a project manager for the Kentucky Department of Education when they implemented this. So I feel your pain and your anxiety, but let me put you at ease. This is probably one of the easiest systems in my lifetime that I've ever implemented. And we get glowing, once it's out in the districts, especially if, like you guys, you're going from paper to electronic, you're going to find this so much better. Now, the way we're going to be doing this today is we've gotten you to the slide set so that you can follow along with us and make notes. We are going to be logging in with a specific exercise later, so don't worry about getting to the application right now. And the format that we follow is generally we'll do a few slides, then we'll demonstrate the application using our test site, and then at the end of the session, we will have you to log in and do a little exercise so that you can log in. But then after the session, we will be with you to walk around and answer any questions, that sort of thing. You will be in a live production site today. But don't worry, there's safeguards against, you can get in there and play and do things in there, but you're not going to hurt anything. So just feel very comfortable with that. The very first thing we're going to talk about is help. Because being a trainer for a number of years, I know the brain can absorb what the seat can endure. So if you walk out that door and remember 10% of this, you're lucky. You're very good. I mean, that's generally what they say with training, any training exercise. But we've got plenty of content and help for you when you get back. And then Connecticut also has LEA support, so you'll either email me or call me, and we'll show you how to do that. Please feel free to do that. So what we're going to be doing today is talking about what eGMS is, the goals, and how to get help. Because once I think you understand I can get help, it lowers your anxiety level. I don't have to know everything when I walk out of here. So then we're going to talk about accessing and navigating in eGMS. Some of the rules that you have to know in order to get around and save your data. Then we'll be going through the funding application itself. I can address the technical issues like how do you fill in this box, what do you do with that. Tom will be here to address your programmatic questions, like what do I actually put in that box? I can tell you how to put it in. He can tell you what to put in. Then at the bottom, we're going to be talking about some of the communication functions in eGMS, because one of the benefits of going to an online system is everything can be contained within this application. No more emailing documents back and forth. It's all right there. And searching through your inbox and your folders, everything is going to be online and in a centralized place. So what are the eGMS goals? And you all are in a paper application, right? Have any of you all ever forgotten to fill out a specific thing that was required? Has that ever happened to anybody? Yeah, I can't fill out a form to save my life. My timesheet, John is always like, Millie, you forgot a box. And I can't fill out a form to save my life. But we've got some things built in that will help you to ensure that you have everything that you need in there, so it's going to make your life so much easier. And because of this, and because we're looking, the State Department of Education can look at your application online while you're looking at it, it's going to improve that turnaround time. You can get it approved a lot quicker. You're going to centralize your communication, and probably very important, especially after ESSA, is you're going to increase that transparency to ensure the funds are used appropriately. Actually, after your application is approved, the public can log in and see this application. So it's really good for our transparency with both internally and with the public. So I think we've done this part already. You've gotten to the system, but we're going to be talking about sign in, and we're going to show you how to sign in and actually retrieve a password if you've forgotten it, and also to show how to do your profile online. So what you'll be doing is, all of you are at the site right now. How many of you all are already used this system before? Okay, if you've already used the system before and you've got a user ID and a password, you will use it. The brand new users, should have gotten did they get emails last night? The brand new users, we're going to show you how to set your password here. It has not been set for you so that we can give it to you.
We'll do that at the end.
We'll do that at the end, correct. Now, when you log in, we have a home page. And generally, the home page is like a newsletter. CSDE, if they've got any announcements or deadlines or training announcements or things, it'll be on your home page. Once you log in, we have a blue main menu over to the side. I think all of you have seen it. But once you log in, it's going to change a little bit. It's going to give you access to more functionality, depending on what district you're in. Do we have any fiscal agents in here for Consortia? Okay. If you're a consortium, you're going to have an extra step because you have access to all of the Consortia districts all the members in you're going to have to choose a particular district and log in. So you'll have one extra step. And you can always move between the different districts by coming back to the home page and selecting which district you want to look at. The navigation menu allows, on the left, it allows for real quick navigation between the eGMS components. If you hover over the menu items with arrows, I think most of you that have worked in any kind of system understand, if there's a little black arrow over here, you're going to have a menu that goes a little bit more detail. One of the things that you can be assured of is, other than the fiscal agents, you have access to only your information. And other districts can't see your information. You can't see other districts' information. So you have access only to your own district. Help. We have 3 ways you can get help in addition to calling Tom or Angela. CSDE Resources, which we used earlier, is a library. It's like a public library. There's training materials. You'll also see an IDEA folder, which has links to programmatic content that will help you. Any kind of resources that you might have in administering or your program or answering questions on the application will be in CSDE Resources. Information for this page is something we're building out, especially as the FAQs come in. It's a context-sensitive help. If you're on the CEIS page, for instance, you'll hit information for this page, and some topics. Once we get that built out, will pop up that says, here's how you use this page, and here's the things you need to be aware of. Request help provides the link for a help desk ticket, which comes to me, and then it also has a phone call, which generally comes to me unless I'm out training, and then it'll go to one of my colleagues back at Columbus. So request help. Connecticut has a contract with HMB that we help the LEA districts. Please feel free, if you've got questions, to contact me or to email me or call. Now, if it's a programmatic question, like how do I figure my MOE and how do I use this MOE spreadsheet, that goes to Tom and Andrea. But if it's on that page, we have email links and phone numbers to the people at the CSDE. CSDE. Yeah, we also have an SCDE. All right. When you're logged in, your Title I, your Title II, Title III, McKinney-Vento, all those people in your district are already using this system. So you may want to find out what roles you have and who has roles in the system in your district. The address book is an excellent place. It comes off the blue main menu, and that will show you the people that are in your district that have access to eGMS and what their roles are. So, and when you click on their names, it's real handy. You get an email link that automatically you can send an email to those people. So that's an extremely good resource for you.
And then also on this screen, we have the User Access Administrator. So if you're not sure, let's say you need a new role in the system, and you're not sure who to contact to obtain that role, you can go to the address book and find out who your User Access Administrator is in your district, contact that person, and then they can give you that role that you need.
Right, and that brings up a good point. As far as access to the system, we put that at the local level because the people at the local level need, they're the ones that know who really needs to have access and what kind they have. So every district should have a User Access Administrator. Their role is to add people and to manage their roles or what access privileges they have. So you can find your User Access Administrator here in that address book. Now, I keep talking about roles. A role is basically a set of permissions, what you have permissions to do in the system. So the LEA IDEA roles that you need to be aware of is the LEA grant contact for IDEA. That's the person that can start and create the IDEA application and also submit it. More than one person can have this role. It's not just one person. Anybody that's going to be putting data in to the system will need to have an LEA grant contact for IDEA role. And it's important that everybody has their own role because we do a change log which tracks what kind of changes are made to your application. And that change log indicates a user. So if you need to know who really made the change, it's important that everybody have their own role. The LEA superintendent you've already got, you don't have to worry about because the districts, because of the other title applications, they already have an LEA superintendent. And again, this may be the superintendent with the title, or it could be a backup. When you submit your application, however, CSDE requires that, because there's a little bit of checkbox, that you need to be submitted or approved by the actual superintendent, not the designee.
As you recall, back when we had the hard paper application, we required a hard signature, which would require you to drive up sometimes to Hartford to give me that. What we've done is we've been able to get communication with OSEP, and that by the superintendent hitting the approval, that is their signature of the approval of the grant. Okay? So by them submitting that, that is their approval, that they're approving of the grant to us.
Okay, the other role that you might consider is what we call an LEA data view. It may be, I don't know, somebody within your district that just needs to look at the application. An LEA data view is somebody that can see the application, has access to it as it's being created, but they cannot do anything in there. It's a view-only permission. And then, of course, as John mentioned, the user access administrator, you already have that in your districts. And those are the people that if you don't feel like you've got the correct role, or you need an additional role, or if you're leaving or whatever, this is the person that controls the user and their privileges. Now, when you log on, we've been given your email address and your first and last name. I don't know if we did telephone numbers. Did we do telephone numbers? So it's really nice to have your telephone number in the system so that people at CSDE, if they need to contact you, they don't have to look up a number. To access your profile and make any changes, when you log in, your name is going to be at the bottom of that blue menu. When you click on that, your name, your profile will come up. And you can change your email address. You know, if you move to a different district, you don't have to have a new user ID. You just go in and change to your new email address. If you're like me and have had several last names, multiple, you might need to change your last name. So down here, so you can change your last name and you can put in your phone number. It's not really that many. I'm not up with Liz Taylor or anything like that. Okay, so we're going to demonstrate how we do this. So right now we're not logged in, and we are using the test site today. And it says public access, so I know I'm not logged in. So if I click on sign in.
And before we sign in, I mean, you can see that we can get to a few things. We can request help without even signing in, right? That link is available to us right now. We can get to CSDE resources without signing in. If we click information for this page, we're not signed in, but we're on the home page. Here's some general and main page help for us, again, without signing in. So just keep that in mind. If you're having issues, you can't get signed in, well, you can still do the request help link even though you're not signed in.
Yeah, okay. So, and again, this front, you'll see the, go back just a sec. Sure. You'll kind of want to pay attention because it's easy to ignore things, but from time to time we'll have announcements, things like that on that page. So then we're going to log in. We click on sign in, and you'll put in your email address and your password. Now, the brand new users, if you've never been in the system before, will have to request a new password. So what you'll do is click on Forget Your Password. The system will send you an email through your Outlook, and that email will have a link that you can click on to set your password. If you ever forget your password, like I do on a regular basis, you can always go in there and do this as many times as you need. So one of the exercises for you new users today is to request a new password by clicking on Forget Your Password.
Which we'll do later.
Which we'll do later, right. Okay. So John is logged in as Michael, and as you see, his district is up here. That's the district he has access to. It also has it up here. We'll look at those, what I call breadcrumbs or an information bar in just a minute to see where you are. This is very good for you people that are fiscal agents. You'll always be able to see which district you're working in up here. Now let's go down and click on we've got the menu items. I think I do.
Yeah, so once we signed in, you can see that left-hand navigation grew quite a bit, right? It's a lot longer than it was before. So we've got a number of additional links that are showing up for us now that we've signed in and the system knows what district we're associated with. So we've got an inbox, an email message archive where we can see any emails that are being routed through the system, either to you or from you, would be available in that email message archive. Under inbox, and then you've also got your funding application, which is basically where our grant applications are. Below that, we've got our address book.
Yeah, let's click on that address book.
Right.
We talked about that. So we're now in the Bristol district, so I can see that here's the contacts for all. These are the people that also have user IDs in the system. You can see that, and down here at the very bottom is our user access administrator. So let's say we need to have, let's show this how we can do this. So let's just say we need to have a change of permissions. So I can click on her name, launch an email by clicking right there. And that's a whole lot easier than having to go back out. But your user access administrator, again, is if you have to do anything with, you can change your email address, but if it's something about adding a new user, if you've got somebody that needs to be added, or if you need to change your permissions.
And you can also see who else works with the other grants.
Right.
So I maybe work with IDA, but I need to talk to the Title I person. Well, that shows me it's Carly and Alicia. Yeah. So all that information is good and out there on the address book.
And of course, we've got the CSDE resources. Let's click on that one. So the CSDE resources, we showed where the training slides were. Oh, this is a test site. On the production site, you'll see a folder that says IDEA that has links in it. And then request help. We are our work hours are 8 to 5. Sometimes I'm a little bit longer. Sometimes I'm a little later in the morning. not very often, but we always have this covered, 8 to 5 Eastern time. And all you have to do is click Submit Help Request, and that'll automatically create an email that you can send. Then also, if you're really desperate, this is the... back up. We've got a telephone number that you can call, and that gets routed to us. So that is all that. If you need help real quick, there's where you go. Now, if it's more in line with how do I calculate my CEIS or how do I calculate my MOE, we will have, and we're going to be adding Andrea's name to this. So we will have the program people at the CSDE and their email addresses and phone numbers for you. So we've tried to cover all of our bases on being able to provide you help. Now click on Michael there, and you can see where, let's just say Michael went from Bristol to Hartford and he got a new email address. All he needs to do is go in there and change his email address. He doesn't need to be a new user. He just changes that. Now he will have to contact the user access administrator for what? Pop quiz. Permissions, exactly. But he can change his phone number here. John, we're showing our age with the fax number. We're going to have to work on that. And you can change your password from your profile.
The question was, does the address book give you access to other districts? Your address book would not show you other districts. It would just show you your districts. However, you can search on other districts. So I might search, I'm logged in as Michael. I could search for Hartford under search organizations and go into Hartford. And now you can see that Hartford is my context district that I'm in. And then I can go to the address book for Hartford and see their users. I can't update any of their applications, but I can see who they have working on Title I or who they have work. If I know they've got a great IDA program that they're running over in Hartford, I can come out here and say, okay, who does IDA, and come out and find that person. Okay, June Sellers, and I could even send her an email or give her a call. So that information is available. You just have to search on that organization, and then you can jump over to them.
I did not know that.
So what I'm going to do to jump back to my home district, I'm going to go to the home page, and I'm going to click on Bristol. Hartford is my context right now, but I'm going to click on Bristol, and that's going to take me back into my home district. And the fiscal agents, they're going to do that a lot, where they're going to bounce back and forth from different districts. But I can do that as well, even though I only have access to a single district.
Now, as John has already shown you, once you get to your district, there's at the blue menu item, you'll see funding applications, and then funding applications. This will show you all of the applications that are current. Now, what you'll be seeing up here is 2019, because that's what we're in the test site. What you guys will be using is 2020. We always, in the system, we always look at a fiscal year like 2019, 2020 fiscal year. We call it 2020. So when you're on the production site, make sure you're looking at 2020. Now, why do I say that? One of the really, really great things about this system is from this point forward, all of your applications are accessible at any time. You can go back numbers of, however many years your district or the state has been on this system, you can go back and look at previous years. How do you do that? On your funding application, there's a drop-down menu, and you can go back. Now, obviously, you guys can't go back to 2019 because you weren't here last year. But once you get rolling, you can get on and look at any past application. The other thing that's going to be nice is you can carry forward some of that information to a new year, so you don't have to repeat, you don't have to type it in every year. But now, I will say that when you all get on your production site, you all won't see, for 2020, you won't see Title I, Title II. You have permissions. You can look at all of the other grants. You can't do anything in there. But the grant won't show up until we load allocations. You all are on an earlier cycle. We don't load allocations for Title I, II, III, and these others until later towards the end of the summer. But when you get out to the funding applications, what you will expect to see is click on 2020, and you will see, click on the IDEA application. Now, the first thing that you'll go to, and we're going to be demonstrating this in a few minutes, is the sections page. This is kind of base camp. It's like a table of contents. You're going to change statuses on the sections page. You're going to view your allocations. You're going to see each grant, the 611 and the 619 budgets are separate in separate sections. On the sections page, you're going to see validation errors. The system checks to make sure you have all the required fields filled out. It will check to make sure you put in monies in the correct way, that you don't go over specific limits for like CEIS or anything like that. It will check, like for your private schools, that you have a minimum amount of money in there. Then it will you'll also see your application history. When was the last time it was approved? When did it get sent up? You'll see all of those things. On the sections page, this is where you create comments. You have the option, I mean, if you still are in love with Outlook, you can still send emails back and forth and hunt for them, and if that's the way you want to spend your day, that's good. How many of you have ever had trouble finding an Outlook item? Everybody's perfect. I mean, everybody loves Outlook. You can still use Outlook, but we have a really great way of letting you create comments about this application. And the nice thing about those comments, they stay with the application from this point forward. So people can make comments, and it all stays right there, and everybody that's looking at the application can see it. And then you also have a checklist for reviewing. A checklist is something that Tom, if you get your application in and he's not clear on something, or you've put in, I'm going to spend money on meals, and Tom's going, no, you can't do that. He's going to send it back to you. But the checklist, he's not going to just send it back. He's going to tell you exactly what you need to fix, and that's what the checklist is for. This is what the sections page looks like. It looks very busy and very long. At the very top, you have your information bar that tells you what application, what district you're in, what application you're in, what fiscal year you're in, and what revision. You all only have one. You all will only have revision 0. We'll talk about that in a second. But that's where you are. And I don't know the times somebody's called me and said, this data looks wrong. And I'm going, what fiscal year are you in? And they were in the previous year instead of their current year. So that you can always tell at the very top where you are, what you're looking at. Then you're going to have the status area. This is where you will change the status. You're going to start your application. You're going to complete it. This is where approvals get done, is in the status area. You come down to the change log, and as I said earlier, the system tracks all the changes to the application by user and by timestamp. So you'll be able to view the changes to the application. Now this looks kind of long. So, and I notice that some of you, if you're working on a screen in a laptop, it's just a little bit short, and you can collapse so that you view the sections only, these bold, or you can view all the pages. Do that right up here, collapse the sections or expand them. Over here in the validation, two questions that I get, I can guarantee you I'm going to get these. Number one, I'm typing in my application and nothing has happened. And I'll say, what status are you in? We're going to be talking about that. The second one is, I've completed my application and I can't submit it. The thing I'm going to ask you to do is go over to your sections page, look at your validation. Do you have any error messages? So this is where you look to make sure that you've done, that the system hasn't seen anything in there that's going to prevent you from submitting your application. So that's a very important, those are very, very important links when you get ready to submit. You have links to every page, so you can just basically pop over to any page that you want to from this application. And you're also going to print, and we'll be talking about that before we leave today as to how you use the print. Statuses, as I said, the statuses can be changed at the top of the page, and this is the number one confusing thing. And actually, I've seen it around here. There's two lines. There's a bold line at the top that says current status. Then there's a line below that that says change status to, and it's a link. The change status to is the next step in the process. When I say what status are you in, this particular application is in not started status. You cannot work in your application until you move it to application started. And you're going to have to click on the link to do that. And as I said, it must be moved to application started. Now, you can always hit that link, but if you don't, number one, if you don't have permission to change the status, it'll stop you. Or if you've got error messages, if you're trying to submit something and you have to do something else, it will stop you. So the link is always active, but it won't always work. All status changes will send an email notification to the next person in line. So as we go through the statuses, is the next slide? Yeah. So the status workflow is not started. You will need to move it to application started. When it is finished and all errors are done, you will move it to application completed. That will generate an email to the superintendent to say you need to go in and look at it. The superintendent can approve it or return it. If he approves it, the CSDE grant contact will get an email, and they will go in and either approve it or return. If they return it, and with things that needs to be fixed, once you fix those returned application, the next status is application revisions complete, and that goes directly to CSDE. Now, the reason I have these in yellow is those are the only statuses where you can actually type and work in the application. If it's not in a started status or a return status, you will not be able to edit anything in there. You can make comments, but you cannot change your data. And especially, you know, a lot of times the IDEA person will finish their application and they'll think, I forgot to put that, you know, I forgot to add that budget detail, or, oh, I need to change those numbers. I was looking at the wrong sheet. What you do in that case is talk to your superintendent and say, hey, would you return my application? I need to make a correction. So we see that happen quite a bit. Once your application is in CSDE grant contact approved, once Tom or Andrea has approved your application, you all are working with preliminary, is that right, preliminary data right now. You will get official allocations later in the year. All changes will be done in the prepayment grant system. You do not make changes in eGMS. Once your application is approved, any updates and revisions take place in the prepayment grant.
That's another element that's really one less step that the district has to do. As you might recall, before we would fill out the paper application, and then you'd also have to take the ED-114 in the paper version and upload that into the prepayment grant system to get it certified. The great news is that once this is done, you don't have to do that step. But what that means is that once the application is approved, it is closed. It is done because the information is now being uploaded into prepayment grant, okay? And that we then are certifying that this are the dollars that are available. Now, as Millie pointed out, these are preliminary dollars. And so when the numbers come in relationship to July 1, when the federal formula is introduced, where it's the base rate and then it's adjustments by poverty and census, that's when we have those changes that happen late summer, early fall, right? And I send that information to you where it's up 1,000, down 1,000, et cetera, and we do that adjustment. That's all in prepayment grant system on the other side, okay? So the good news is it's one less step, but the other element to be aware of is that I'm going to probably have more communication with you than in the past. Because in the past, I was doing a lot of changes with arrows, with the pencil, because, you know, bothering you over these pieces, I was just going to change it and put the little line here. We're not going to be able to do that anymore because it's all from your side in regard to what it's sent to us. Okay? So again, there might be a little bit more communication at first, or more than in the past, with this system.
Which is good.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think Millie mentioned this earlier, but really want to make sure you understand this, is that as you're getting into your application, you're in application started status and you're working in your application and maybe you're struggling with a particular form, filling it out, you can get on the phone with Tom or Andrea and they can pull up your application. You know, it's a website. They can pull it up just like you have it up, and you guys can look at a screen together and talk about that screen, and you know, they can provide guidance on how to complete that form. So I think, you know, that will help you guys when you get it submitted, to get it approved faster, because they're looking at it as you're completing it if you need some help.
And that's another point. The only people that can edit your application, and the CSDE cannot make any changes to your application. The only two people, or the only roles that can edit an application, are the LEA grant contact for IDEA and the superintendent. Those are the only people that can edit an application. Okay, now one of the things that we're going to go in is in stress is how to navigate, how to save. Control S, what does that do? Not in eGMS. Control S does not work in eGMS. We have what is called a Save and Go To button once you get into the pages. That button is going to do two things. It's going to save whatever you've done on that page, and it allows you to go to another page in the application. You can go... How many of you all have chatty people in your office? Does anybody have chatty people come in and you're in the middle of working and they are totally oblivious to the fact that you're working? And they're going to chat. And you filled out a whole bunch of narrative. What you'll want to do, you can't use Control S, but you'll Save and Go To button, current page. Save and Go To current page. That's the save. You see them coming down the hall, you click that really quick. Okay? So we've got it set up also so that you can save and go to the next page. So it just kind of walks you through. You can go back. You can go back to the sections page, but look at this. You can basically, from that Save and Go To button, go to any page in the application. So it's a real handy little button. There is a 60-minute timeout between saves. And you'll see a little clock under the bottom of the blue menu. You have 60 minutes, and there is a 15-minute warning. But if you've gotten up and you've walked off, what do you want to do first? Save and go to current page. So yeah, you always want to save at the end of 60 minutes. If you haven't saved, you've lost it. The other thing is you never want to use the browser forward and back buttons. If you put anything on the page, that forward and back button up there in the browsers, you're going to lose it. It does not save. Okay, basically, how does this system work? Here's the steps. You're going to log in. You're going to move your application to started status. You're going to complete all the pages of the application. You're going to create your budget. You're going to look and see go to the sections page, see if you have any errors, correct any validation errors. You're going to change the status to application completed. The superintendent, you've done everything perfectly because you've had such good training. The superintendent is going to approve it. And then, yeah, you've really had good information from me and Tom. Tom is going to approve it, or Andrea is going to approve it. That's it. Those are the steps. You don't have to, as Tom says, you don't have to worry about loading other stuff up to prepayment. We do that for you. So those are the steps. Real easy, right? You can just leave now, right? Okay, so let's look at some of the pages that are in the application. The allocations page has what your district has for its 611 and 619 allocations. As Tom said, these are preliminary, but that's the budget you're going to be creating a budget for. If you're in a consortium, if you're a member, you will have your allocation, but you'll see a minus sign for that entire allocation. And if you click on it, it'll tell you where that money went, who was the fiscal agent. If you're the fiscal agent, you'll have your allocation, plus you'll have this big number here on the consortium line. And if you click on that, that will show you all of your consortium members and the amounts that they contributed. Well, they didn't contribute, that you're responsible for. Okay. Contacts page, occasionally Tom or somebody will have to send out information to 611 or call somebody about 611 or 619. He needs to know, we've got a bunch of roles, but he needs to know who to call to talk to. So you're going to have to put a contact in for both 611 and 619. It can be the same person, or they can be different, and you can have more than one person. Program detail pages we're going to go over later because they're very specific to an application, but a thing you need to know about them, this is where we collect data and numbers and narratives. They can have check boxes, you can have calculated fields, you can have radio buttons. Anything with an asterisk must be completed. It's a required field, except in some conditions, and we'll show you those in a minute. You can there's some not applicable. If we've got a private school page, there's a checkbox that says not applicable. So if you don't have any private schools in your district, you check that box, then those required fields aren't required. But if you don't check the box, they will be. So normally the asterisks are required. We have a function called add row. I can't remember what page it was on. It's where you're listing schools or something. And there's one row and you need to add more, so you'll see this add row button. It'll allow you to add another row.
For the goal page in particular,
yeah,
there'll be goals. So
yeah.
You have one and then you want multiple goals, you can just kind of add those.
Text boxes, we have two flavors. We have rich text and plain text. Both of them have spell check. Both of them you can copy and paste in. So if you feel more comfortable typing up everything in Word and then copying and pasting it in, you can do that. But both of them do that. The rich text you can always identify because it has this little menu at the top. It's really flexible. You can pretty much put as much text in there as you want. You know, there's really essentially unlimited. You can copy and paste Excel spreadsheets in there, or the grids. You can number. You can make it different colors. You can do all kinds of things with the rich text box. Large amounts, this is what we use for large amounts of text. And again, if it's got that bar at the top, you know you can just type away and talk to your heart's content. Plain text boxes, on the other hand, again, we copy and paste, does a spell check, but it's a limitation on characters, and that will always show you down here at the bottom how many you've typed in and how many what the limit is. And it doesn't do all the fancy schmancy stuff. It's just text and that's it. You will see a section called IDEA information. Every district will have to complete this with the exception of shared services. Every single district will have to complete this section of IDEA information pages, even members of consortia. Assurances, you know, there's a checkbox. Self-assessment, all districts must complete the self-assessment. And as Tom, I think this is new. Yeah.
It is. The fiscal self-assessment, as you might recall, last year was another piece that you had to submit electronically. The great news is we were able to take this and incorporate it right into the grant itself. And what this is this is a piece by which that we meet our fiscal monitoring piece. And so from this, all you're going to do, it's just another one of the sections, and it's just like you did before, but we don't have to have another step of you having to filling it out and send it a different place.
So then you have a private school proportionate share. The system is going to automatically calculate that proportionate share for you when you put in numbers. If you don't have any private schools, you're required to check a little box that says I don't have any. CEIS, every single district must complete this in terms of indicating a status. You're either not applicable, voluntary, or mandated. And if you're voluntary or mandated, you'll have some additional fields depending on what you check. Program options is a unique page. It's disabled because Tom says nobody uses it unless you want to use it. So if you want to use it, you have to say, I'm opting in. We'll demonstrate that. But it's a bit of a different page because it's there because you all are required to have it. But nobody uses it apparently, and you have to indicate you want to use the page. Then you have your 611 goals and your 619 goals. If you happen to be a district that doesn't have a 619 allocation, you'll indicate not applicable. Maintenance of effort. Every district must complete this for both eligibility and compliance, and Tom's going to address that when we get to those pages. Excess cost. There's a section for elementary and secondary both. If you don't have a secondary, you'll indicate that. Professional development and parent participation pages. In other words, all districts are going to have to complete or address these pages. Related documents, the MOE calculator, and any letters of agreements, any type of official letters or documentation is uploaded on this page. It is super simple to use. Actually, all of these will have what we call document templates. They're just empty files. You will click on the document template. It will load on your machine. You'll complete it and save it. And then you're going to turn around and upload the documents. It's going to be a very simple process. But that's where those files are uploaded. And
just for clarification, again, I've sent out several communications around the MOE calculator. We now have a version 1.3 from 1.2. We want to be migrating that data from 1.2 to 1.3, okay? We have in there just the template for those districts who've not downloaded or have the 1.3 at this time. A lot of you already have gone to the website and have downloaded that. So you don't have to recopy it into this. All you have to do is find it and upload it, and we'll show a demonstration of that. In regards to the elements between the business office and the special education department, business, if you will, the programmatic side and the business side. And most of you know that since I've been in this position, it's been my goal to bridge that gap, because you'll be a better special education director if you know where your money is and you know where it's going and how it's being allocated and spent. And so part of what you want to do is have those conversations on a regular basis with that business office. Again, part of me, I understand, oh, this section, I don't know what it is and I hand it off and look the other way. Happens a lot. But that, in my opinion, does not do you any favors. And so I think that you should be engaged and know what that information is, and certainly collaboratively working with the business office around those pieces so you can go in there, because knowledge is power. And you going into your budget meetings, you're going to be able to go in there and have a place of being able to go in from confidence and understanding rather than one of you're going to be at a state of a weak state. And John?
Yeah, so I think the question was, the fiscal folks that are in your district, should they get access to this system? So the MOE stuff in particular is a document that really sits outside of our system. You can download the template from our system, but you're filling out that document outside of our system. So however you want to collaborate on that, I don't know that we have we definitely, sounds like we're encouraging collaboration between Fiscal and IDEA program folks to fill out that document. But that's really up to you, I think, on how you want to handle that. As far as access into our system, we would definitely encourage the Fiscal folks to have access to our system, to go in and look at the budgets that you guys are putting in, to go in and look at the program a little bit. Most of our other states, we've got this system in 15 states, and most of our other states have a fiscal approval as part of the workflow process. Connecticut's a little bit unique in that it's only the superintendent that's approving these programs. Most of our other states, it's fiscal representative approves it, then the superintendent approves it. So, it definitely is there's a push around the country where the fiscal folks and the program folks are working closely together to make sure they're on the same page and kind of the same goals. So I hope that answers your question, but if you need more clarification. Yes, it is a separate document. It's uploaded into our system, and there is a maintenance of effort page that you do in our system, but it's a very streamlined version. That calculator is much more involved, I think, compared to what we automated in our page. But that document is a must upload in our system in order to submit.
And just to again, kind of put an exclamation point or a period to the end of the conversation, is that the MOE calculator is a rather complex spreadsheet that has multiple formulas that we weren't able to upload into this system. So within that, the 1.3 actually only gets us through the 1920 year, okay? Now, we're going to be doing a 2.0 for next year. The good news is that by you loading this in, you're going to have it saved as part of the application. So by having that information done through the MOE calculator, all you're going to do is take the data points that you're demonstrating MOE and putting that into the application part. Yeah, and we'll show that later on.
I guess the rule of thumb is if you want them to be able to do something in the IDEA application, they have to have IDEA contact, LEA grant contact for IDEA. They have to have that role in order to do anything in the application. Okay. Otherwise, then you will email your file to to the person that has that role, and they will upload it.
And you can give them data view. So if you didn't want them to edit anything, data view is an option of like,
that's an excellent,
hey,
yeah.
Check out my program. Pretty awesome, huh? So.
Consortia, we preload the consortia. If you're a consortia, a fiscal agent or a member, we preload that association in the system automatically, as we demonstrated earlier with allocations, reassigns those funds. The consortium member page, as we said, will show you the fiscal agent will see all of the members and what their allocations are. The member districts will just see that money has gone to another place. The fiscal agents will complete the budget for all of their members. That when they do a budget, the budget is for themselves and for all members. The members do not have budget pages.
So you're not preloading the dollar amount for each consortium?
We load the allocations for everybody. We just have a file, and your consortium members, yes, we load that allocation. But then we load a consortia association file. And the system automatically, like here's a member right here. So here's an LEA, they have $62,629, but they're a consortia member. So we take that money and give it automatically. It's listed under the fiscal agent.
The question is, how is the money allocated? And the money is allocated in the preliminary dollars from last year. And so just like when you fill out your agreement between the consortium members to the fiscal agent, they're taking the specific dollar amounts that have been broken down from the preliminary dollars last year. That's what's signed over to the fiscal agent. Those are the funds that have been loaded into the application. So the preliminary dollars that they would have had, okay, they are calculated over and brought into the fiscal agent so that the budgetary side is managed by the fiscal agent. Well, the allocations themselves versus where you're going to be sitting them in the budget, such as in 111B, where you're going to be putting those resources to, that's a different step. What this is now, pardon me?
Yeah.
In relationship to the bottom line of where the dollars are the dollars that you're basically applying for, right? And so those monies are already been allocated last year in preliminary dollars to the different consortium members. Those dollars are now being sent to the fiscal agent in a lump sum, if you will. And then from there, in the budgetary side, when we put the narrative, you're going to be listing out where those dollars are going.
Yeah, this is informational. When you create your budget, you're going to create it like you've always done it. I mean, I don't know how consortium members, what agreements or how you work that. When you fill out your budget, you can say there's this much money going to personnel, and that person may work in different districts. So it doesn't necessarily saying we're not going to balance your budget against these values right here. You can't change them.
The question is, can they change those amounts? to the extent that we'll talk about that later, but in general, the fiscal agent is responsible for the total lump sum of all the members' dollars that come in. And that is what is reflected in this system.
All right, so we're back at our test site, and we are going to open our IDE application. So we go to Funding Applications. And, of course, this is the 2019, but if I wanted to go back and look at 2018, in 2018 we only had 3 grants, but those title people can go back there, click on that, and pull up the grant from last year. You guys will be able to do that in 21. Go back and look at your 20s. Okay, so let's click on IDEA. Pop quiz. What's the first thing I'm going to do? Move that status to application started. It's a little confusing because a lot of people say, well, it says application started. And that's what I meant. No, that's the next step. So we click on application started. We click to confirm. And now see the current application status is application started. The next thing we're going to do is change it to application completed. But click on that link. It's not going to let me. Why? I've got all those errors. And the reason I've got errors is I haven't started yet. Okay. So we looked at this. This is our sections page. Let's collapse those sections so it's a little bit shorter. And if I just wanted to look at IDEA information, I could just click on one. There. All right, messages, it's kind of misleading. If my personal advice tip is to just click on that top message by all. That shows you all of the messages. And we're going to be going over how to correct these, but you'll notice I've got a lot of errors. In other words, I've got some required fields, most of them that haven't been completed. I've got some warnings, and we'll talk about those. So that's what those messages linked look like. I have the print over here, and I can print entire sections. I can print the whole thing. If I want to do cafeteria style, I can click and I can select individual ones. Let's open the history log. And just that will give us a record of who actually made those changes. We'll be covering a little bit more about that when we talk about comments later. Go back to the sections. The allocations. For 611 and 619, and then the totals. Our contacts. Now, right now, we have drop-down lists, and the only people that are on these drop-down lists are users in the system with certain roles. Okay, if we want to have multiple people, we click on Add Contact. We've got a little trash can. If somebody leaves and you need to get rid of their name, you can delete it. So then we have, and we'll go over these pages in the IDEA information in more detail later on. Then we have separate sections for the 611 and the 619 down here. We'll cover these in detail later. You have a budget and a budget overview and related documents. These related documents here really, and you'll get to those pages a little confusing there. You don't upload here. You'll upload. We'll show you where to upload. And then you have the CSDE checklist down there at the bottom. We'll be going over these pages and how to use them in a little bit more detail later. Have I missed anything?
Well, I guess we'll come back to it.
Yeah. I guess we can do the related documents here. We will show you how to do this related document since we covered it. So you either have already started on your 1.3 MOE calculator. If you don't have the template, you will click on that template. It'll download it over here in the corner where you can open it up. Okay, enable editing. Let's just save it and we won't put anything in there right now.
This is tests from test.
Yeah, this is just a test site. And we'll go over this when we get to the MOE. Oh, I wanted you to save it. You show the upload. Okay, here's the Consortia letter of agreement. We've got that one. Some of these, you notice you have required document and optional documents. The system, you see this Consortia letter of agreement, you'll see a private school, consultation with private schools. It looks like they're optional. Oh, I don't have to worry about it. But the system will say, did she list any private schools? She did, so now it's required. Same thing with Consortia letter of agreement. Oh, did they say they were part of a consortia? Then I have to have, these documents are required. So even though it says optional, it depends on your situation. They may be required. Okay. So once you've got your file, your MOE finished, you'll go out there. You'll find the file wherever you saved it. You'll give it a name. 2000, I always like to, yeah. And now it's loaded. The nice thing about this, as we said before, that document is going to stay with this application for years to come. You'll always be able to open that document from there. And you can update it or you can delete it there. What we'll be doing now will not be in your slide set, but we're going to go over some of these pages in the IDEA information section. I'm going to show you the technical side, and Tom is going to talk about the programmatic side. So this will be kind of like a song and dance between me and Tom here. Assurances, those are just easy enough. Just make sure you hit the right box here. Actually, the only one that should be hitting this first box, and I don't think they're here today, is shared services. Is it 223? District 223 fiscal agent. Everybody else, so kind of be careful here. I am gonna kill myself on this thing here. Yeah, I have to get up there. Make sure you just check the little box over there. That's the required field. And you need to read those diligently. And if you think reading them is a pain, other states make everybody say yes by every single row. So you guys are kind of lucked out there. So that little checkbox up there at the top says, I promise I've read these. Just like when you go through your website and did you read this, acknowledgement of all of the user guide? Yeah, I did. Okay, next one, we're going to save and go. Oh, there is places of performance. I don't think that's required.
No, that's only if a different place from where the district is.
Okay, so then we save and go to next page. And we have the fiscal self-assessment. And again, that not applicable is only for the shared services District 223. Everybody else has to complete and answer every question. Not very many on there. Then we go to the next page. Private school proportionate share. What you're going to be doing here is basically for the 611 grant, putting in the number of parentally placed private school students. Aren't you proud of that? And then the total number of in-district special ed students and the total of the district special ed students. I think, oh, that's the total. So you're going to put in numbers here, and if you have 619, you're going to put them in here. And the system is going to automatically calculate. Yeah, put in like 50 there. The system is automatically going to calculate the proportionate share. This is an FYI. This is knowledge, or just really for your information. This just tells you how much, at a minimum, you must have at least this much budgeted to private schools. And we're going to show you where we're going to check that.
As well, with this page, you'd want to make sure that you're doing, if you do have a non-public school, you're going to be doing the upload in relationship to your meaningful consultation sheet. That's when you're reviewing your child find procedures and ensuring that those people who attended your meeting have signed off. There's only 2 ways by which a non-public school can put in a complaint to the State Department. One is if they weren't invited to their meaningful consultation. So ensure that you do that and you document so. And 2 is you don't share with them how you're going to allocate those funds. So those are the two elements by which that you should be reviewing in your meetings to make sure that you're not going to have any concerns.
All right, your CEIS, all I can tell you is that we do calculations for you. That's all basically. But scroll up a little bit. Up, yeah, that. Okay, so it's a little bit confusing, but you've got one of 3 boxes here that you need to select. You're either not applicable, you're voluntary, and if you're voluntary, there's some fields down here at the bottom you fill out, or if you're mandated, there's some specific fields that you need to fill out.
Again, coordinated or oriented meeting services is an element by which that you can voluntarily do this to set up to 15% of your grant for those high-risk students, which would include students even without disabilities. So from that perspective, you'd be voluntarily doing that. We have a handful of districts that do that. What you do later on in the year is you need to track those students by SACID numbers, and those students were impacted by the CEIS funds. If you're mandated, you would have to set aside 15% of the grant, and that's if you are identified with significant disproportionality. Significant disproportionality is looked at in 3 areas: in relationship to discipline, in relationship to placement, and in relationship to identification. And so those 3 areas are looked at by the state, and you'll be notified in relationship to that status if you have to do the mandated set-aside. Again, what this does by checking that box, it'll automatically set that money aside for you. And then, so you're aware, we're actually changing the ED 114 to add a column of CEIS in the prepayment grant system, so that CEIS, the non-public private school monies, and the budget overall, all of those will be reflected both in this application and on the prepayment grant system.
And we do have some validation when we show you how to fill out the budget. We do have a way to indicate CEIS funds. So the system is going to validate that if you're required, that you have a minimum when you complete your budget, it's going to validate that you have met that minimum. If you're voluntary, I think that's the maximum. So there are some validations. It's not going to automatically come to your budget, but we are going to check against these figures. Program options is one of those unique pages, as I was saying earlier. My understanding is that absolutely no one does it, but it is required that we offer it, the ability to do it. So this is an unusual page that you can't do anything on it. It's disabled unless you choose to opt in. But you don't have, if you're not going to use it, you just have to glide right on through this page. 611 goals. Now, everybody has 611 except shared services. But this is where you will put in the goals, and this is, again, as Tom was mentioned earlier, you know, let's just type something in there, blah, 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 blah. Goal 1, great goal. Then if you have more than one goal and there's no limits, I know some of you all are just very zealous and you got goals coming out the, you know, a whole bunch of goals, but you can add as many rows there as you want. Now there is a requirement that if you add a row, you have to fill in all 3 boxes.
The element to be aware of with the goals for 619 is make sure you indicate it's for 3 to 5-year-olds. We want that bright light in relationship to 619 funds. So in that goal, mention 3 to 5-year-olds.
Tom, what do most districts provide in that third box?
Oh, go ahead.
The question is, what do most districts put in that third box? And it's mostly around to ensure that there's no discrimination against, you know, race, religion, all those pieces. And then if you're doing anything specific for those groups, what you're doing as a district.
Oh, here's the MOE page. And I'm going to let Tom take over because I know the words, but I don't know any of what it does. We do notice that we do have, this is a page where we've got resources on maintenance of effort, and if you click on these links, it will take you to those resources.
The real key with MOE, and as we talked about before, is that we're migrating to the 1.3 Excel document, and that's going to be able to give you the information by which where eligibility is for the 1920 projected budget. Okay, so it's the budget side. When we say eligibility, think budget. Okay, and so the 1920 budget, you need to spend the same, if not more, than you did the last time you met MOE for students with disabilities. Again, this is the special education budget. So in that, you're going to be putting those numbers in, and if there's a shortfall, you have the exceptions or adjustments that you can put in as a way of which to explain the information. Okay? What you're going to then do is from tab 4, which has your basically the summary page, is the 1920 year, it's going to be eligibility, and you're going to find which of those methods, there are 4 methods, by which you're comparing local to local, the combination of local and state, and then per capita of each, that you've met MOE. And on tab 4, that summary page, it'll show either green or pink if you met with exceptions, or did not meet. Okay? So within that, you're then going to place in the FY18, I'm sorry, go up. The FY20 special education budget. You're going to pick which number you're going to take from that chart, and you're just going to type it in there. You can copy and paste it, actually. Question, Carl.
The acceptable exceptions, those appear and check off a menu.
Correct. Down below, if you have an exception, okay, on the MOE calculator, there's the exception adjustment page that you'd be filling that out. Right? And what this does, you'll check off which exception was noted, so I can then go and see on the MOE calculator which exception was used. Okay? And within the exceptions, you might have multiple kids that say graduated, okay, that you're no longer providing services for, or moved out of district. Those are some of the elements by which that, around students with disabilities that you can list as an exception of why that's no longer there. Okay? As compared to the compliance side again has those same 4 methodologies, and we're going to be looking at the 17-18 year. So it's important to note that on that tab for 17-18 for MOE, that you're toggling out of eligibility to compliance, right? Because now you're actually going to be taking what was the eligibility side and putting it on the amounts page into the compliance side of what is the end of your year expenditures. Okay? So in that, that's going to be what you're putting on your amounts page, and you're toggling it from eligibility to compliance. So that on tab 4, the summary page, it's going to be for 17-18, compliance, and those methods, which one met. Okay, and all you're going to do is type that in relationship to the special education expenditures that were met, be it again local to local, combination of state and local, or per capita of each, and then which one you compared it to, and similarly in relationship to if you used an exception or adjustment in relationship to that. Check that off. I'd know to go look at it on your MOE calculator. This is similar to what we actually had 2 years ago, where we just kind of had those boxes. So this is a way by which to kind of marry the 2 years. Any questions in relationship to the MOE page? And again, as a resource, if you're having trouble with that, contact me. And we have Sean Kavanaugh through SERC, who is a good resource around helping with those supports.
And we've got excess cost, and again, everybody, we need to kind of put a, adjust there. Not applicable only is for
Correct.
shared services. Everybody else has to fill this out.
Because again, excess cost, this has nothing to do with the state of Connecticut's excess cost grant. It's just the same term. I know that's confusing, but the purpose of the IDEA grant is to provide excess costs for students with disabilities around special education related services. And so what you're establishing is students with disabilities are regular ed kids first. And what you're finding is actually your per pupil expenditure. Okay, that's what you would spend on any kid by backing out all the special education dollars. You're then going to take that amount and you're multiplying it by the number of students with disabilities that you service. That number is basically what you need to be spending as a district, okay? And then you're going to be accessing the excess costs of IDEA to meet those kids' needs. That's the term excess cost. And so what you're doing is you're establishing what that is. And we understand it's in tandem, you're going to be spending IDEA, but that is the element by which that can be tested to ensure the district is doing your part in relationship to what you would have for expenditures of a per pupil expenditure piece. Okay? Not all districts, if you're just a high school, you're only going to be the secondary side. If you only have elementary side, K to 8, you'd be doing the elementary side. You decide as a district in relationship to how you're defining what's elementary and secondary. Any questions in relationship to excess cost? The school year, I'll explain that later in relationship to excess costs around the exact where you're drawing the different elements from. It should be listed in there, but I'll speak with you later. Any other questions? Great.
And of course, here we have our professional development and participation. It is required that you have at least one, but what you'll do is click on the drop down. So if you have one row, you must fill out all 3. Now, if you have something that you're doing that's not in this drop down up above, then this is just a free text field. Like, I was very creative. I didn't do any of that stuff. I did something really out of the box. So
this looks the most different. As you might recall, there was a chart of where you would put in and put those, just list those. And what this does, it kind of condenses all that.
all right, and so we demonstrated the related documents, and the question came up, when you're uploading new, you're uploading the completed document so that Tom can go out there and open that up and look at it.
The document types that are allowed in the system, Excel, Word, PDF, PowerPoints, those are the types of documents that you could upload through the related documents.
All right. Now we're going to move on to the budget And how do you create the budget? Okay, so we're going to go to a budget page. In the budget page, you have an overall budget page, and then you're going to have some budget detail pages. The budget page itself is, when you create a budget, you have two things that codes that you're going to use for every line item. You're going to have an object code. That's your 100, 200, 300, those codes. And you're going to have a purpose code. Now, I've got the screenshot is from Title I. You are going to have three purposes for IDEA. You're going to have public school, private school, and you're going to have CEIS. So those are the three purposes combined with the object view. Now, however you want to make this page look, some people like to say, I'm going to do all my public school, and then I'm going to do all my private school, and then I'm going to do my CEIS. Other people say, I'd prefer to talk about it, you know, or operate from these object codes. So you can see either view. When you're on your budget page, you will see either the words modify or view. Modify means that you can change or edit or add budget details. When you're in that workflow process, you'll only see view. You can look at things, but you can't actually do any editing. This page is going to allow you, it's going to sum as you create your budget details to kind of see where you're going. You have your totals, you have your allocation, and then you always know how much you've got left to budget. You have to budget to the penny. In other words, when you get through with your budget, remaining should be 0. When you go on that, click on that modify, you're going to be taken to the budget detail page. And so you're going to click on add budget detail, and there's 4 things that every budget detail has to have. It has to have the purpose code, the object code, it has to have the amount. Where it says quantity, always leave that at 1. Just ignore it. Leave it at 1. You're going to have your cost down there. So if you've got 4 teachers, add all their salaries together, put that total here, cost, and then the 4th thing that you'll need is your narrative description. So if you've got 4 teachers, you're going to put their total salary down there, and then over in the narrative you will say, I have 4 FTEs or 3.5 FTEs or whatever in the narratives. Once you've created a budget detail, if you need to change it, maybe correct the narrative or anything, you will click on the little, there's a pencil icon for edit. That will open the screen so that you can make changes if you're in an editable mode there. Now, there's a budget upload and download feature that is kind of useful, and we're going to show you how to use that with Title I because we don't have any good IDEA files to use. But basically, the download feature allows you to download your entire budget to an Excel spreadsheet. It allows you to see at a glance. It's really helpful, you know, if you just want to look at everything, you want to do some filtering, but we've got some filters that you can use. But if it is kind of helpful for those very, very large districts or to see everything in an Excel spreadsheet. We also have a filtering ability on the budget detail page that allows you to say, oh, show me all my 300 object codes for private schools. Or if you want to look for show me all my personnel costs. I want to combine the 100 and 200 codes. Is that right, the benefits? I want to see just the budget details are for those. And it will even give you a total for that little grouping. So we'll demonstrate that filtering in just a minute. So that's something that's really, we just added in the last year, and people have really liked that functionality. So I'm going to go into my, let's go into our 611 budget. And right now, John is looking at the object code view. But if he wanted to budget by purpose, he can click that little button there, and it'll look like this. Same identical budget, just a different way of looking at it. So let's click on our 111A. Oh, there's your allocations down here at the bottom. We've got $1,000 to work with. We're going to go to town on that. All right, we clicked on Modify, and now we're on the budget detail page. Now, we don't have any details created yet, but if you've got it'll tell you how many budget details you've got with this particular filter, this view on. You've got the ability to, You've got the ability to say, I want to see more items per page. If you're one of those large districts and you have a whole lot, you have that option. So we're going to click on Add Budget Detail over here to the left. And although we came in on 111B, if we made a mistake, we can go up there and click on something else. Let's make it a 111A there, just in case you say, I missed the wrong one. I need to come in on that one. This is for public school. And if you desire, you can, by default, the location is going to be at a district level. A lot of the districts just put everything at the district level. We have sometimes people would like to put it at a specific location or a school or budget by school. That's entirely, it just depends on how you work. There's no requirements around there. But you can click on the LEA. We're going to leave it at the school district, and we're going to put in $800.
As you might recall, 111A is non-instructional salaries, so there's actually a cap of 10% on that. So 111B would be, say, for salaries where you'd have a much more amount. Okay.
So, and we will be putting validations in on that too.
Right.
So, okay. So we put in the cost, total cost, and he's got, what's it for? In every place I've ever been, applications get sent back because of inadequate narrative descriptions. They don't want a book. They don't want to have to do a lot of reading, but they want to know. In other words, they need they need to know enough to say this is approvable or not approvable. All right, so we've created that. Now, if I need to edit it, I'm going to click on that little edit button. And we can go back in. I need, like half of an FTE. Let's put in. There we go. Affordable professional would not have been enough. Tom will need to know how many FTEs. All right. Any questions so far? Now, to your effect, this is where you go back. When you all are working in Consortia, you just put in who it's for, what it's for. Notice that we're not, requiring you to do it by which district you're using. Yes? Upload. You can upload. I think that's something.
So the question is about there was links for download, upload. Upload is probably something that it's a little tricky. You really have to get it in the right format. I would say for this first year, unless you feel very strongly, that Excel, you know exactly what you're doing in Excel and can upload your budget. We would recommend probably just enter it in this year. And then actually next year, there's a copy feature. So when you do the 2021 IDEA grants, you'll be able to copy all your budget details from the prior year right into 2021 and then just tweak them as you need to. But you can use the budget upload. If you pull down budget download, it'll show you the format that you need, and then you could enter in your budget details into Excel and then upload them.
Let's go to Hartford Title I and show them how that actually works, and we can show the filtering a little bit better. We're going to go to the Title I grant in Hartford and show you how the budget upload and download works and what the filtering looks like. And notice you can do these downloads and, yeah, okay, there we go. So if you want to download the whole budget, you're going to download budget data. Now, the reason you don't have upload here is because it's in a non-editable state. You can only upload if it's editable. So he's clicked on the budget download. And this is what the template looks like. It will have a couple of columns at the beginning that's a system code that the system uses. It will have an action column. Then you have your object codes, purpose codes, budget tags, which you all don't have, your school codes, and your quantities and your narratives. So in answer to your question, could you upload? Can you upload? Yeah. What you would do is download that template, fill in that amount of information, and upload. The download template, when you download it, it's agency specific. You have some tabs that give you what code you're allowed to use. You have the budget tags you don't have. And then you have the available organization, so you can copy and paste those in. As John said, it takes, if you're pretty good with Excel and you feel like you can use it, it's great. It's a great tool. And quite honestly, it's just a great tool. Here is Hartford, and I think they've got about 149, oh my God, yeah. They've got all these rows. So they've got that many budget details, and it's just easier for large districts to kind of look over their budget details in this format. You would fill this out, make adjustments, and upload it. Now then, let's go to the filtering part of it. And so we've got, let's go, so we're going to click on all, select all. So when we've got all our object codes, all of our purpose codes, and all of the schools, they've got 169 budget details. And notice they can go page to page, they can do all of that. But I want to see what my personnel costs are. So I'm going to go to object code, and I'm just going to click 100 and 200. So it's going to bring back, now I just have 10 items. Oh, wait a minute. I have only 90 of my budget details are related to these two codes. So it pulls those back. And when I go down to scroll down to the very bottom, I can see that the total for the budget details that came back, here's my total cost for just that budget detail, that combination of budget details. So that's the way the filtering works. It's if you do budget by school and you particularly want to see what one school's budget is, I think they probably, I'm not sure if they do or not. Let's go.
I'm trying to find an elementary school.
Yes.
Kennelly.
Oh,
Kennelly?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
So we have to be sure what we're filtering here. We're seeing just the personnel cost for Kennelly. So it's a really powerful tool, the filtering is. You can answer a lot of questions with this filtering tool.
And then when we filter, if we did download budget data now, it would just pull back Kennelly, and I switched to all object codes, so we would get just Kennelly's budget details. So you've got some nice control flexibility with this budget filtering and the download.
Okay, let's, oh, okay. Well, I was going to look
Was
at,
there more stuff?
yeah, I wanted to look at the budget overview page.
Do you want to, okay.
I'm going to demonstrate, I'm going to keep going with Title I again because we've got a completed application. Once you've completed your budget, or as you're completing your budget, we have a budget overview page. And the budget overview page just gives you a grid of object code versus your purpose codes to kind of let you see how you're spending your money for specific things. And again, you guys would also have CEIS here, so if you had a voluntary or a mandatory requirement to use CEIS, you would be able to see how much money that you're assigning to your CEIS. But anyway, so it's a really nice tool. You can, this is an overview by the whole district, but if you want to look at an overview by individual school, you can, to see how much each school is spending. And you can also show your unbudgeted categories, you know, so you can see where they're not spending their money. Okay. But anyway, that's your overview, and you will be able to do that with your IDEA once you've completed that budget. All right, we're in the home stretch. You've worked on the pages, you've filled out your budget, you're ready to submit, and you're going to click that application completed. This is the third most question that I get. I'm trying to submit my application and I can't. So what I'm going to ask you to do at that point is go to your sections page, look at your validation column, and click on your messages. There's two types of messages, an error and a warning. An error is one that has to be fixed or you cannot submit your application. The warning is one that, hey, you better go check and make sure you weren't supposed to do this. But it will not prevent you from submitting your budget. Errors have to be fixed. Warnings, you just need to double check, but warnings don't necessarily have to go away. If you do have an error, you can click on the review link right there, and it will take you to the page where the error occurred. Communicating. We talked about comments and how you should communicate, and all of you have indicated that sometimes you get things lost in Outlook. One of the nice things is the ability to make comments, and anybody can make a comment at any time, any status. You can always make comments. If you can see the application, you can make a comment. Comments stay with the application, and not only that, the comment can be turned into an email from within the application. Now, how would this work? So you have a question about, can I spend money for XYZ? Now, you can send Tom an email, or you can pick up the phone and call him, and he can give you an answer, but you have no documentation. So if you create a comment and you send it as an email, and Tom is going to use the same comment box and send it back and is like, yes, you can use that. Then when he gets your application and he says, you can't use it for that, and you go, wait a minute, you told me right, I could use it, and here's the evidence right here. It's also good for, like, comments could be such that I got the data from this certain source. This is where I got this data. Basically, anything that you want to communicate to Tom or to any of your coworkers or for future use, you make comments about. They get saved with the application, and then they also are viewable by people within the they're viewable by people within the agencies, but they are not viewable by the public, the general public. The communication history, you've got the history logs. So anytime you make comments, it's logged in the history. And then also you have an inbox over there on that blue main menu. It will keep a record of all emails that the system generated to you or from you. Application review. So you've finished your application. You've done a good job of resolving all your errors. The next thing, again, you're going to change that status to application completed. The superintendent will get the email and will need to log in and either click on approved or they'll return it if it needs corrections. Once it's approved, it's going to go to Tom or Andrea. They're going to use the checklist to say, this section is okay, that's okay, that's okay. Oops, we need to fix this. They're going to use that checklist to do this. They'll either mark it approved or returned revisions needed. If they do that, you'll get an email to say it's coming back to you. You need to make some revisions. You'll make those revisions, send it back. It'll go straight to Tom. It doesn't go back through your superintendent when you're returning it back to CSDE. So if you get a returned application, the first thing you do is you don't look at anything else, you go straight to the checklist, because that's where the items that need to be corrected are listed. You don't need to go through your whole application doing hunt and peck for whatever. Tom or Andrea is going to tell you right there what needs to be fixed. When you fix it, it's not a have to, but I'll give you a little tip, especially if it's been sitting there for a few days. There is something called the change log, and you can go in and see exactly what changes have been made since it came to you. So it's just kind of a tip of something you might want to do. Use that change log to make sure you've got all the changes you need to make before you resubmit. It'll save a lot of that going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The change log is on the sections page. You'll say, show me all the changes since a certain status. And the changes are pretty detailed. They'd say what's been deleted, what's been added, what's been changed, who did it, and on what date. Printing, Control P, right? Just like the save. Printing has its own little process. What we do when we print is that the system changes those pages to PDF files. Now, if it can do it within 30 seconds, it pops that file up, that PDF file up, and you can either print the file or you can save it to your machine. However, if it's a long one, if you're saying, print out all my budget, print out the whole thing, and you've got 169 budget details, it's going to take longer than 30 seconds. So what we do is we ask for your email address, and after 30 seconds, we let you go on and work. And then when it's through generating, we'll send you an email, and then you'll go to the CSDE resources and print. Now, I guarantee you that when you leave here and you get back to your office, and 3 weeks from now, you won't remember how to print. But there are instructions down in a user manual. So, or you can go back to this, pull this slide up, and you can go back and remember how to do a print. The PDF is, I'm saying print, but actually the PDF could be just saved as a file. Let's say you need to give something to your board. You could create that file as a PDF, save it to your hard drive, and email it to somebody or whatever. All right, we're going to go to Barkhamsted. Barkhamsted. Okay, and they've almost ready. They're going to click on application completed. They think they're done. This is what stumps everybody. I can't change application completed. It says that I have validation errors. So I'm going to return. I'm going to go over to validation and click on my messages. And I'm going to look over these, but the one that's stopping it is I didn't upload my consortium letter of agreement. So I'm going to click on review and go over to that page. I'm going to upload. We'll just grab a file out there. As my grandson says, we're going to tend like we're doing it. Okay, so we've done that. Let's go back to Save and Go To Sections, and just to make sure, we're going to look at those validations. These are warnings. Yeah, I don't need this. I don't have private schools. I don't need these sorts of things. So I'm ready to go. And this is why you need your actual superintendent to approve. We've got these little messages in here.
The superintendent doesn't have to hit application completed.
No.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, on any of the...
Give me 1 second. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, okay. So, here we go. So now we're going to look at superintendent approved. Here it is. So he's going to have to check this box. That's his legal signature. And confirm. One of the things Tom is going to look at is he's going to say who did LEA superintendent approved. And if the actual superintendent didn't do it, if his designee or his secretary or somebody did it, if he doesn't see the right superintendent's name, he's going to send it back. Okay, so now it's in superintendent approved. Tom and Andrea have gotten an email. They're going to go down to this application review status checklist. And it's kind of good for you guys to look at this checklist because you're going to see what Tom is going to be looking for. You know, you can look at it, you just can't use it. So this one's not applicable. He didn't have private schools. That's not applicable. He's reviewed those 611 goals. Going to need some attention needed on these goals. Yeah. He didn't have a SMART goal. So goal number 1, we need a SMART goal. Okay. For goal number 1, we want to be specific, Tom. We want to be very specific. Give them good information. No. Now, Tom.
It's the opposite of smart, right?
Yeah. Okay, so he's going to go all the way through. He has to go through and check everything before he can. All right, everything else looks okay. Okay, so now he's ready, and because he's got attention needed, he's going to say CSDE grant contact return revisions needed. You guys are going to get an email saying it's coming back. You get it. You go down here to this checklist and say, what did I do? Oh, I need my goal number 1 is dumb.
It's not smart.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to go over to that that page. We can validate a lot of things. We can't validate that kind of stuff. Okay.
Let's do one other thing.
Yeah. You're going to add another one in here. Now, you did this on Monday, but you didn't get around to thinking about it till Friday. Maybe went on vacation. It's like, did I do everything that I was supposed to do? So we're going to look at the view change log. And we're saying we want to go back to this status when it was returned to me and see what changes. Did I make that change? I can't remember whether I did it or not. So the change log says, yeah, I updated my goals and I inserted a letter. That's what I did. So, yep, that's what I meant to do. I'm going to click Application Revisions Completed, and it's going to go back to Tom. Tom then is, the nice thing about the upside, you know, I know he has a bunch, so I can almost tell you he's not going to look at it again and find more things wrong. He's probably just going to go look at the change log and see what changed since he sent it back. And he's going, okay, that looks good. Now I'm going to approve. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Tom can look at that, and all he needs to do is just see what you've done differently. And he's going to go back and say, now that looks okay. He can go back and look at his old comments and say, yeah, that's what got fixed. And he's approved. Then on a regular basis, we run a report for all approved applications. And somebody over in your prepayment grant system goes and picks up that report and loads it up to prepayment grants. And that, my friends, is...
Let's do that. We skipped a comment, creating a comment.
Oh, we did. Okay. I was talking about creating a comment, so let's make this comment. We're gonna do two kind of comments. First, we're going to make a comment that I took the data from the XYZ file for my number of private school students. That's in case somebody looks at this and like, where the heck did they get that number? Okay. Well, this one we're not going to do an email. We're just going to add this comment. So we did a save and go to, and there it is. So anybody that goes in there and looks can now see that comment. Yes?
You mentioned earlier that this would be public information should somebody want to see it. Would they be able to see comments as well?
The question was this is going to be a public document once it's been approved, and can they see the comments? The public cannot see the comments.
But it is FFY.
Do what?
It would be subject to FFY. Freedom of Information.
Oh, I guess.
And
I don't know.
assume emails are too, right?
Yeah.
So
that question was is it subject to FOI, Freedom of Information? Yes. Same thing with emails. Yeah. So you want to be kind of careful with those comments you make in there. The dumb question, I don't think you want to do that.
I would never do that for real.
Yeah. You haven't seen my evaluation. All right, so this time we're going to send an email message to Tom. Rather than pick up the phone or rather than send an email through Outlook, we're going to say, Tom, can I use money, IDEA funds to pay for my PD trip in the Bahamas? Now, at this point, we're going to want to send this to an email through the email system. So we click on Send the Email. And down here we have a whole list of people that we can do. So we can get the LEA grant contact for IDEA, that role, and my superintendent. I'm going to hold the control key down. I'm going to select two people and click on Add. That's my two, these I'm going to send it to two. Then I'm going to also go down here on the CSD miscellaneous contacts and find Tom. And then you can actually type any name in here. They don't even have to be users in the system. We're going to ask Tom. We're asking John. Now you kind of want to know, like, before you select send, who is really going to get this. So we go to recipient summary. And this tells us the people that are going to get a copy of this email. Then we go save and go to, and the email is sent. Now if we go over, is it going to show it there in the archived? Yeah. So in the inbox, it's going to show us, we've been doing a lot of stuff. I don't know where all these came from, but yeah. So anyway, this is now the email message, who it went to, and what the message said. So you've got a record of it in your application and in your system. Again, do you have to use this? Nah, you don't really have to. But if you get in the habit of doing it, it's really good documentation. You don't have to go searching. Print. All right. You can print the whole thing by just clicking on print on all, or you can print specific sections, or you can print individual pages. But if you wanted to select multiple, I want this page and that page and this page, you can do that as well. Let's do an all. Okay. Then you click on the print. This, again, this is here just in case it takes longer than 30 seconds to generate the PDF. This is there just in case they have to send you an email. So we click on print. And it's gonna be frozen for 30 seconds because it's generating that PDF. Suspense.
I think we need some music.
Yeah. I'm going to put that on Alex's eGrants tasks. All right. So it says this print request is taking a long time to complete. It has been submitted for completion, and you will be notified by email. I'll be honest. Sometimes those emails end up in the junk box or get overlooked. So if you didn't get the email, that doesn't mean it's not finished. You need to go to your CSDE resources section, and it'll be there at the top. So let's see if it's there yet, John. Yes. So there's our IDEA print request. We went to, let's go back and show how we got here. We went down to CSDE resources. And at the very top is your print request. It will be there for 5 days, but you'll open the document, and then you can either print or you can download it. There's the print, or you can download it and save it on your machine. So that's the way print works. Now let's go back and do just a one-pager. So now we're just going to print one page. Okay, so it didn't take the 30 seconds, and it's going to go right into a PDF.
One thing that might trip you up here is it does open that print document as a new tab, which is like a pop-up. So if you've got pop-up blocker turned on, you'll have to allow pop-ups from the eGMS website so that those print documents can pop up for you. So just turn on always allow. You'll see a little icon that said it declined the pop-up. Click on that and then always allow pop-ups from eGMS, and then that way you can be sure those print documents open up for you.
That's it? I'm finished? Okay, any questions? Yes. Yeah, the question is once, does the contact get an email when the superintendent approves it? Can you go, do you know, John, can you check that? I think they...
I'm not sure about that. I think we try to email those folks on almost every step. The LEA grant contact for IDA, I think we email them on almost every step of the way. The only step I think we don't email them would be application started, but everything after that, I think we email them on, so you wouldn't have to constantly be checking. I know that we email you when the state either returns it or approves it. I know that for sure. It's the superintendent one I'm not positive about.
If you give us a name, I can find, or I tell you what, we'll just put that in FAQ, and we can answer it there.
You know, there's one section in particular, I think there's a couple others where you might be checking off multiple things, such as the professional development, parent participation.
Uh-huh.
How do you actually check off multiple things in the drop-down? Because I try to do that.
Okay, so the question was that on some drop-downs, you may want to have more than one, and he wanted to, okay, here we are. Some of the drop-downs will allow multiples, others will not.
Let me jump to another district.
Yeah. So in this particular case, you probably won't be able to select multiples because you're going to have an individual instance per row. Is that correct?
That's why that add a row is there, so that you can hit add a row and then add your next item.
You might add a row for behavior discipline. You might add 5 rows just for that.
Yes. You can use it multiple times.
I saw the add a row, but I just, because in the paper copy you would put the key and multiple keys in each one, but now you have to add.
Correct.
So you might have a lot of rows.
Correct.
Yeah, this is, again, the really very difference between the chart. The chart was something that wasn't able to accommodate. So, again, you'd be putting those in relationship to when you had those. Any other questions in relationship to the application process or content pieces? So we were going to do the log on?
Yeah, so what we'll do now is we want you guys to, we've got some time, you know, we're here till 11:30, so we've got some time. We want to get you guys so that you reset your password in the production site, can get that email, and can log into the system, go into your IDA application, and start working. So let me just take you through that process real quick, and then you guys can all do your password reset.
Yeah, and the password reset are for people who have never used the system before. Those of you that have been in the system, you don't have to reset your password.
So to get to the forgot your password, you'll click on sign in on the production site. You'll click forgot your password. Put in your email address that you gave us when you signed up for this session. Hit confirm, and then that's going to send you, that's going to deliver your a new password, deliver a link to create a new password to you. And then once you have that email, you check your email. Once you have that, you click on it, establish your new password, log in, and then once you log in, you can go to that user profile and update your contact information. And then start working, go to funding applications and start working in the IDA application. So we'll be walking around and helping out folks, making sure everybody can get logged in, can get to their IDA application, can move it into application started, and actually, you know, start working in some pages of the system. So we'll be walking around to help you guys do that.